Hi design thinkers, my name is Matthew Sear. We're going to be jumping into Figma today. We're going to be building a quick, easy prototype where we can swipe up and down on a clock. This was one of the reach out suggestions from one of the community members. Amelia reached out asking about how she could set this up. So without further ado, we're going to be building this clock. We're going to be building the functionality. We're going to set up a default, and then we're also going to build some with some variables. So if you'd like to learn more about how to set up from prototyping and set up these interactions, then sit back, relax, and let's jump into the video. All right, here we are inside of Figma. We're going to be setting up these prototypes. So if we click on one, we'll be able to click through this one where it will be able to go up and down. Now I put a click on this, but you can also use the drag. And I also put this one together, which does use the drag. So we can use a drag, and we can drag up and we can drag down. And if we actually drag, for example, in this one, all the way to the PM, you'll be able to switch over to PM and it'll switch that over for us. All right, so how do we get both of these two? First of all, when any prototype, just think about what are you doing? How long is it for? If it's meant to be just for a quick and easy project, think about how you can just make it quick and easy. You don't need to make this complicated. And sometimes a little bit of manual work is actually quicker. For example, right here, the first demo, the one where we're dragging up and down, basically just a series of assets that are just linked and they just jump back and forth. Took only a few minutes to build this out. So this one is the first demo with the dragging. And then we also have the variable demo, which obviously, being a variable makes it a lot easier in the sense you don't need to have many things. You can make it quite short and concise. And this one uses that. Now I am using first of all, let's start with this one. Makes it nice and easy. We're using variables. What I ended up doing was, in variables, we need a collection. We will need a collection, and the collection will have time A and time B. And that's it. Time A, time B. So create one collection with a number and a second set of numbers, time A and time B. If you need to create a variable, you can go down, add variable, and that's it. All right. So we've created our time A and time B. The next thing we would like to do is we're just going to actually create our time. And I created a time strip all the way from 1 all the way to 12. Now I blocked out this time strip by adding in the hours and then adding in that text block there and then adding this one. So an easy way to do it would be to grab your text. You have one text block, put that text into a container. By removing this here and centering it and then setting it into an auto layout, what we can do is define an actual width. This means that the actual text inside the container here will actually remain in the center of the container. And I could call this one hour. And what I can now do is simply go and turn that into a component. I can add it as a variant. I could actually set the variant container to be a auto layout. I can go Control, or you can Command D, and now we can make our actual duplications. I can go from 12, and now I can type 11, I can type 10, I can type 9, and I can continue on with the other numbers, like so. 4, 3, almost there. And I might add a 0 in front of them so that they maintain the same consistency going down. If you don't do that, then I would recommend making sure that you have the actual item and the item will fill the container, and the item should have text and the text should align to the right hand side. By doing that, that means that this will always sit there and that you can increment and the text will move forward, which is how your clock will appear. So that's great. But for this, I will not do that, and I will just stick it to the numbers. And there we go. So we have our numbers. And I will just duplicate the last one more time and just add 0. And I'm probably just going to reuse this. I'm not going to have a minute for this version. And then we can take the 12 and we can take the 0 and we can grab that the same piece as well. I can detach it, just use a space to remove that name. We'll just put the symbol into it. So basically it's using everything that's inside the container itself, except this will hug. And all I need to do is put those together. I can select those, press Shift, and now I can actually set up the spacing that I'd like. So I'll go with 0. I might actually go back to the 2. Actually, you know what we can do, and this is why we did it in components, is so that we also have more control. If I want to, I could add that, and I could also tell them to stick to that site. So there we go. Actually looks quite nice. So I'm going to say the time item, and there's my time item. I will actually use this to center it in the container, and I make sure the container is hugging. Fantastic. Okay, I might turn that into a component too. May not keep it into a component, but at least then I can have a little bit more control. And a good thing is I can actually click up here on properties. I can go nested properties, and I notice that I can hover over that one, and that one says hour, which means that if I select this, so now I actually have the ability to actually select those different variants. And if I really wanted to, I could actually go through and actually just give them numbers like this. So by just numbering them, I can easily see which ones are which, and I can easily change it to the ones that I want. And 10, and then we got 11, and then we've got 12. Now I can click that, and I can actually see the numbers and see how they're not in a necessary order. You can sort that out and put them in an order, but that's not in order. All right, done. Now I just need to duplicate that again, and I'll just actually stack these together inside another container. And I can just go that, and I can easily now, because I can see it all, I can actually change that pretty quickly and change it by going 10, and then I can go to 9. And by setting it up all into components like I've just done, it means that while you're creating this quickly, you can adjust it quicker because you already had them all nested into actual components themselves. Save some time, use some components, and if you need, and at a later stage, you can also just detach it. You don't need to maintain the components inside. You just are using it to help create the asset fit fast. So where you got 9, 8, and then we got 7, and then we're going to go to 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, and then lift off. Awesome. There we go. This is our actual timeline. Easy. All right, I can create that as a component. Now, the reason why I did it like this, now you could do it in maths. You could totally increment these numbers and use some maths, so that's always nice. But the great part is that sometimes you don't need to. For the example, like this one here, if I just duplicate this, I can detach it. What I've done is, obviously, I've got that AM and PM. I'd suggest you add that, very similar to what you've done before. But the difference is that I actually have this block, and the block goes all the way up to the top. Or you can make it go the other way around. Completely up to you. Depends on how you want to start it. What I'll do, though, I'll make that as a 4. Duplicate that out. And what I've done is I've actually just created this square container that holds the asset in the center, and it has this block inside. So the way that looks is like I'm just going to have my time and get rid of that. And I'll remove the white, and I can grab my actual timeline. I can add my timeline into this container. And I can also I'm just going to copy and paste this block as well, just to save some time. No pun intended. There we go. So I'll bring that across. I have this actual little time widget here. You'll be able to access the file. I have a little AM and PM set up over there that can be used to set it dynamically. Now, we can either start here or we can start at the bottom. Completely up to you how you want to do it. The trick here, though, for this way of doing it is just using padding. So when using auto layouts, we can actually add, and we can click up here, and we can add padding. So if I could add padding, I can push that down, or I could push it. Or if I, for example, use padding, but then I, for example, change my anchor point, like I could actually push it up like magic. So that's why we only need time A and B, because all we need to know is that we're going to push it up or we're going to push it down, and we're going to use one value to do. So if I click on the this timeline, all I need now is actually just a container. So I have a container, which would be like my time wheel. And I've added in a couple of elements inside. So there's a drag container that's inside of here. And what this is just a frame with a frame at the top and a frame at the bottom with basically a frame inside of it. I used it as an auto layout. You can set it however you like. And this would be like, which would be drag. If you're dragging, you're clicking from the top and you're pulling down. So this would actually be dragged down. And the other one would be evidently drag, but drag up. Of course, if you're just doing clicking, you reverse the way you're actually thinking of it. So there we go, drag up, drag down, great, winning. So that can go in the background here. So we can grab this, add that into that time wheel. We can center it into the container. Because I've set it up into an auto layout, I can make those fill, which is fantastic. So I can actually just drag this from left to right, and I'm going to make sure that it actually expands over the container so that if I was to click on this bottom section, and I was to pull up, then it's like that. But if I click on this one, I can pull it down and it responds, because you can only have one drag event on a single thing. And it doesn't necessarily determine the direction that it is going in, which is a problem. So to resolve the problem of understanding which direction, understand where you start, and then wherever you drag doesn't really matter. If you're starting at the top, the idea is that we're dragging down. So there we go. Then I can add the little time block, and I can add that time block inside of the main container. I can center it inside of the main container. Now I can anchor it as a centered. So if I want to, I could do other things. I will probably anchor the other part so that it can be responsive. And then finally, we just need to have some sort of gradient. So we can actually just set that up. And let's say I'll choose a dark, use that, crank it down. There we go. Easy. All right, so there's my black gradient. I can click on the top container, I can paste it, I can anchor from left to right, and I can actually add it and center it. And what I can do is I just bring it about there. So it means that this text will be like prominent, bold, white, like, and you'll see it like stand out on the black background. And then I will just flip that around, stick it on the bottom. I can say this is GP for top, and this one can be the GP. Easy peasy. I can anchor that from left to right, and what I can do is just lock these. So I'll click that. I'll also anchor that, but from the top and left to right, and also lock it, just so that I'm not clicking on it at the moment. And there is this. I don't want that to be cutting into the asset. Of course, I want that to flow outside the container. And now all I need to do is basically define going from point A to point B, because I have two, point A and point B. So this is going to make a little bit more sense when we actually create that component. So we're going to create it. We need to transition between it. So let's create a variant and let's create the 2 point A's into the point A and the point B, and one for up and one for down. This one is going to be going up. And actually, what we could go to here, and we will start by just going to that timeline piece. Now, in this scenario, I have it there. Now, my other one over here starts at the bottom. So maybe I'll start at the top in this one. Choose wherever you want to start. At the moment, it's anchored to the bottom, so that's fantastic. So I'm going to just go grab my time A. Because I've added that in, that's fantastic. And now I'm going to duplicate it out, which makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to say this one's going to be up, and I have that A, if you remember. So we go here, and instead I'll just switch it to B. So now A to B. I can now duplicate this one again, and this one will be down. And we will still have B, which is fantastic. And it's anchored on the bottom, so that's also cool. Now, all we need to do is basically increment between the two. So, based on how much spacing, padding, and the height, you're going to have to figure that one out. You can figure it out quite easily just by understanding how much you're going to have to push the padding. Now, in this scenario at the top here, my actual complete stack that's here, I have this 8 pixel padding, and I have a height of 22, which is 30 in total, which means that you would increment it by 30. So let's do some simple maths here. If the height is 22 here, and the length I have currently 4 though, maybe I even set it to 8, that would be 30. But it's 4, so that'd be 26. But in this scenario, I'm incrementing by 26. Let's grab the top. Remember, we're going to be dragging with this one. The other one up the top is clicking, but this is going to be dragging. We'll click here, and I will go to prototype, and I'll drag this, and I will drag it to there. And what I will do is I'm actually going to increment A. I'm going to increment A, and I'm going to say A, and remember it's at the bottom, so it's pushing things up in this scenario. By pushing it up, that means that while I'm dragging down, the actual object should be pulling up. We are going to say A plus, this will be the 26, and we're not going to see this because this one is A, which is fine, and that's exactly what we want. I'm going to drag that above, and then I'm going to transition over. The transition here, make it instant, much, much easier, because we don't also want any sort of flickering. And then we will do the same for the bottom. Also, this one, double check if that one was on drag, but this should be drag too. And we are going to use that smart animate on drag. And then we are also going to add this, and we'll do the same, but in this scenario, we are going to minus the actual 26. And and we'll also switch these around. So set it first, then transition. Always set first, then transition. Do it the other way around, it skips setting anything. All right, easy. And that was on click, but we'll set that to drag. There we go, set first, fantastic, happy days. And what we're going to do is here. Now, remember, we've set the A, but we've transitioned instantly into one of these scenarios, which means that we don't see it transition, which is good. We don't want it. We want the transition to happen on the way back. So what's going to happen here is we're actually going to set we're actually going to set that an actual delay. So we're going to go on a delay. We're going to set the delay. We're going to make it instant, so it's instant, but the transition won't be instant. So we will go from here. We're going to set B, and B will be B plus 26. And we are able to transition to the default. And it's my animate. Let's just quickly refer over here. So we've got B equals A. Actually, yeah, I know what I did. And we got 30. All right. So actually, the one thing, sorry, is we don't need to do this one here, actually. What we do need to do is just a single update event, which makes life a lot easier. We go time. So by doing, remove that, but by doing it this way, we are only needing to do it once, which is happy. So our B will equal A. So we're basically, whatever B is, it will then equal whatever A had become. So A will be incremented here, because we don't see A here. We only see A there. So we're going to increment A here. So we'll switch that over. This is why it gets it could get a little bit confusing. We're working with what we're not seeing here and incrementing that. So we increment A on the B side, and then we change over. And then we do the same as well here. So we're going to go up to the top here. We're going to put our delay. Our delay will be none, and we will increment A, and this will be minus. There we go. All right. So now we're incrementing A here. We're as in positive, and then incrementing A and on the negative. And then we are transitioning back over to our actual main default block. And this transition back over, what takes place is it goes back to this block, which already has this different value. So it's at a different height. And that's why we get that drag, because it's going from point A to point B. So now I should be able to open this. We should be able to choose a black, grab that out, add this in, center that, click it, add prototype. There we go. So now I can actually drag down, and I should be able to also, I should ideally be able to drag up. We will check our drag up. What is happening? Drag up, goes over to here. Oh, yeah, and we don't transition. So let's make sure we transition back to our default there. So there we go. That should be it. I should be able to go reset, and I should be able to drag down, and I should be able to drag up. And obviously that reset is not on animation. There we go. And there we go. So we've got our dragging up and down. So that is pretty much it. And if you're finding that these things taking a long time, sometimes, just like what we have over the side here, it is actually just easier to just do it manually. This is a quick and easy click, drag down, go to the next, quick, drag down, go to the next. And then inside, all that we've done is we have a large single piece that is just scaling. So I would recommend give it a shot, have a play, and yeah, I hope that this helps. Please subscribe and comment. And we've also released the Pixellink Variable Toolkit. It's our actual plugin for the community. You'll be able to find it by looking at Pixellink Variable Toolkit, and you'll be able to go check it out. It's a quick and easy way to apply variables directly from your actual toolkit directly onto your designs. You can use it for your prototyping sections. You can end up using it as well throughout your design system itself. So check that one out. The link is in the description box below. And until next time, design thinkers, keep thinking, keep creating, and keep building amazing things. And I'll see you all in the next video.